Amidst the turbulent sea doth a solitary lighthouse stand guard, its beacon ever bright, piercing the veil of the night. But behind that shroud of darkness lies a world of isolation, a world of eternal plight, where loneliness becomes the only sensation. Two men left to face their fate on a barren isle afar. Away from the world they know, their sanity slowly doth mar. As they grapple with the weight of their solitude, their bond once strong and true falters under the burden, leaving their spirits askew. As the wind howleth and the sea churns, their minds become lost in the darkness that burns, in the abyss that is vast. The lighthouse, a symbol of hope, now a source of dread, a reminder of their isolation, of the pain that hath spread. Their souls consumed by the endless night, they struggle to hold on to their last salvation in sight. For in the end, isolation doth win, leaving us with the haunting reminder of the human toll therein. Beware the lighthouse's call, and the isolation that lurks within, for in the end, we are all alone, our fate uncertain. The Lighthouse is an enigmatic and atmospheric film that captivated audiences and critics alike. With its stunning cinematography, impeccable acting, and haunting score, it's no wonder The Lighthouse is a masterpiece of cinema. But what makes this film so exceptional? At its core, The Lighthouse is a study of isolation, madness, and power dynamics. Set on an island in the early 19th century, the story is about two lighthouse keepers, played masterfully by Willem Dafoe and Robert Pattinson, who are driven to the brink of insanity as they grapple their own demons in each other's presence. The film is shot in black and white, and Eggers' production design and use of language create a sense of realism that is palpable. One of the most striking aspects of The Lighthouse is the performances of Dafoe and Pattinson. Their portrayal of two men pushed to their limits is nothing short of astonishing. Dafoe's character, Thomas Wake, is a grizzled veteran of the lighthouse game who revels in his power over his young assistant, Robert Pattinson's Ephraim Winslow. Pattinson, for his part, delivers a nuanced and deeply effective performance as he grapples with his own past and the creeping sense of madness that comes with prolonged isolation. The score by Mark Coven is also a standout feature of this film. It is haunting and atmospheric. It perfectly complements the visuals and adds to the tension that permeates throughout this film. The Lighthouse is a film that demands multiple viewings and careful consideration. It is a masterpiece of modern cinema that explores themes of power, isolation, and madness with intelligence, nuance, and unflinching honesty. In this video, I want to talk about some of these themes, as well as some of the hauntingly beautiful aspects of this film. That includes the story, the visuals, and the meanings behind them all. Welcome. My name is Matt, and this is Understanding Cinema. Now, before we go any further, I highly recommend that you go and watch this movie. But for those of you who are too lazy or don't care enough to watch the movie, let me do a quick recap for you. Spoilers, obviously. The Lighthouse is a psychological horror film directed by Robert Eggers and released in 2019. The story is set in the late 19th century and follows two lighthouse keepers, Thomas Wake and Ephraim Winslow, who are assigned to work together on a remote and isolated island off the coast of New England. The film opens with Winslow arriving on the island by boat, where he meets Wake, an experienced lighthouse keeper who is initially welcoming, but soon reveals himself to be a harsh and tyrannical boss. The two men are assigned to spend 4 weeks together, with Wake responsible for maintaining the light at the top of the lighthouse, and Winslow tasked with menial labor and upkeep of the living quarters. As the weeks progress, the tension between the two men builds. Winslow becomes increasingly resentful of Wake's domineering behavior and the grueling work, while Wake seems to relish his power over his younger colleague. The isolation of the island, combined with the harsh conditions and their worsening mental states, begins to take a toll on both men. The film is full of surreal and dreamlike sequences, which add to the sense of disorientation and paranoia that builds throughout the story. The two men drink heavily, and as their alcohol consumption increases, so too does their erratic behavior. They engage in bizarre and violent confrontations, and both men begin to experience hallucinations and delusions. As the weeks wear on, Winslow becomes increasingly fixated on the lighthouse's mysterious beacon, and is determined to see what lies at the top. When Wake refuses to let him ascend the tower, Winslow takes matters into his own hands, leading to a violent and surreal climax that defies easy interpretation. The film is notable for its stunning cinematography, which captures both the stark beauty of the island and the creeping sense of dread that suffuses the story. The performances by Dafoe and Pattinson are also outstanding, with both actors fully committing to the film's intense and often bizarre atmosphere. Overall, The Lighthouse is a haunting and deeply unsettling film that explores the themes of power, madness, and isolation. The first thing that I think is notable is how the film deals with isolation. One of the most effective ways that this film deals with isolation is through its setting. The isolated island is an inhospitable place, battered by relentless winds and rain, with no signs of civilization in sight. The only sources of light and warmth are the lighthouse and the small living quarters shared by Wake and Winslow. The camera work reinforces this sense of isolation, with shots of the two men dwarfed by the vast and desolate landscape, emphasizing their solitude and vulnerability. The sound design in the lighthouse also plays a significant role in reinforcing the theme of isolation. The constant roar of the wind and the crashing waves creates an oppressive and unnerving atmosphere that heightens the sense of isolation and claustrophobia. The sound of the foghorn, which echoes through the film, serves as a constant reminder of the men's isolation from the outside world. The sound is particularly effective when combined with the use of extreme close-ups, as it creates a sense of being trapped in a small enclosed space with no escape. The two characters in the film, Wake and Winslow, are also isolated from each other. Wake, an experienced lighthouse keeper, sees himself as the master of the island, and treats Winslow as a lowly subordinate. Winslow, in turn, resents Wake's authoritarianism and the physical labor he is forced to perform. The two men are unable to connect with each other on any meaningful level, and their interactions are often hostile and combative. This creates a sense of emotional isolation between the two characters, despite their physical proximity. The psychological isolation experienced by the characters in the lighthouse has a profound effect on their mental states, leading to an increasing sense of paranoia, delusion, and the fragmentation of their sense of self. Wake becomes increasingly erratic and volatile as the film progresses, revealing a profound sense of insecurity and desperation for control. He also begins to see himself as a kind of god or all-knowing figure, stating that he alone knows the secrets of the lighthouse and the island. Ephraim Winslow, on the other hand, begins the film as a more reserved and obedient figure. He works tirelessly at the tasks assigned to him, such as maintaining the living quarters and filling the coal bin for the lighthouse's furnace. However, as the weeks pass, he too begins to experience a sense of psychological isolation. Winslow becomes increasingly fixated on the mysterious light at the top of the lighthouse, insisting that he deserves to see it, and demanding that Wake let him ascend to the lantern room. His desire for knowledge and understanding of the lighthouse drives him to a point of near madness. The hallucinations and nightmares that both men experience through the film serve to further reinforce their sense of psychological isolation. Winslow's dreams involve tempting mermaids who taunt him with promises of power and control, adding to his sense of fragmentation and confusion about his own identity. Overall, The Lighthouse effectively conveys the effects of psychological isolation on its characters. The sense of being cut off from the outside world, combined with the grueling physical labor and harsh conditions of the island, lead to a profound sense of vulnerability and anxiety. As the characters become more isolated from each other and themselves, they begin to unravel, succumbing to paranoia, delusion, and madness. One of the most memorable moments of this movie is when Willem Dafoe's character, Thomas Wake, delivers a long and complex monologue to Robert Pattinson's character. The first time I watched this scene, it floored me. I had such a profound experience. I couldn't help but stare in amazement, as Willem Dafoe gives one of the most incredible and well-acted monologues I've ever seen. Wake's monologue begins with an invocation of the god Triton.
Hark! Triton! Hark!
Who is the son of Poseidon and is often associated with the sea and its creatures. By invoking Triton, Wake is emphasizing his own authority and power over the sea as his statue is a seasoned sailor. Triton is a powerful symbol in mythology, representing the ocean's unpredictability and uncontrollable nature. Wake's monologue warns Winslow of the dangers of challenging authority and the consequences of hubris, drawing on the myth of Triton and the sailor he punishes for his pride. Wake's tone shifts rapidly throughout the monologue, creating a sense of tension and unease for the viewer. The camera angles also contribute to the scene's intensity, highlighting the raw emotion on display. The fact that Wake is simultaneously berating and taunting Winslow during the monologue underscores this warning, emphasizing the power dynamic between the two characters and the potential danger that Winslow is in. Wake's monologue is rich with symbolism and allusions, drawing on a wide range of literary and mythological references. The god Triton is just one of the many symbols and metaphors that Eggers used throughout the film to explore complex philosophical concepts. The use of language and literary references adds to the film's sense of timelessness and mythology, drawing on the rich traditions of storytelling to create a haunting and unforgettable scene. This scene is a masterclass in acting and storytelling, using symbolism, illusion, and intense emotion to convey a sense of uneasiness. The use of Triton and other literary references adds to the film's sense of mythology and timelessness, underscoring the broader themes of power, punishment, and the human condition. Another thing that blew me away in this film was a lot of the similarities that it shares with some of the mythological stories of Prometheus and Sisyphus. Prometheus, in Greek mythology, is a titan who defies the gods by stealing fire from them and giving it to humanity. As punishment for his actions, he is bound to a rock and has his liver eaten by an eagle every day, only for it to regenerate each night. In The Lighthouse, we can see a parallel with Prometheus in the character of Ephraim Winslow. Like Prometheus, Winslow defies the authority of his superior by attempting to access the lighthouse's lantern room, which represents the source of power on the island. This act of defiance leads to a punishment of sorts, as Winslow is subjected to a series of increasingly bizarre and terrifying experiences, including hallucinations, physical torture, and a surreal encounter with a mermaid. Like Prometheus, Winslow is ultimately punished for his transgressions against authority. The story of Sisyphus, another Greek myth, also has parallels with the lighthouse. Sisyphus was a king who was punished by the gods for his deceitful and cunning nature. He was condemned to push a large boulder up a hill, only to have it roll back down every time he neared the top, forcing him to repeat the task for eternity. In The Lighthouse, we can see a similar sense of futility and repetition in the characters' actions. Wake and Winslow are tasked with the same routine each day, with no sense of progress or purpose. This creates a sense of monotony and despair, as they are trapped in a cycle that seems to have no end. This can be seen as a reflection of the myth of Sisyphus, where the punishment is not just the task itself, but the sense of never being able to escape it. In addition to these specific myths, The Lighthouse also touches on broader themes and motifs that are present in Greek mythology, such as the dangers of hubris and pride, and the question of fate and free will. The use of symbolism such as the lighthouse and the mermaid also draw on the rich tradition of Greek mythology, where symbolism and metaphor were used to explore complex philosophical concepts. The last thing I wanted to talk about is the visual imagery. The visuals are one of the most striking aspects of the film. Director Robert Eggers and cinematographer Jaron Blaschke make deliberate decisions in their use of black and white coloring, composition, aspect ratio, and the decision to shoot on film. Each of these decisions work together to create a haunting and unforgettable experience for the audience. One of the most notable aspects of the black and white coloring is the stark contrast between the black and white tones. The contrast creates a sense of harshness and emphasizes the harshness of the environment and the psychological torment of the characters. The contrast also allows for greater emphasis on textures and details, making the film's imagery more visceral and tangible. The use of black and white also emphasizes the film's theme of duality. The contrast between the two tones creates a sense of opposition, with the black representing darkness, chaos, and madness, while the white represents light, order, and sanity. This theme is evident throughout the film, and the characters constantly struggling with the dualities within themselves and their environment. The lack of color creates a cultural marker, making the film feel grounded in its era. The use of black and white also allows for greater emphasis on shadows and lighting. The stark contrast between the two tones allows for more dramatic lighting, creating a sense of unease and tension in the environment. This is especially evident in scenes that take place at night or in the lighthouse, where the use of shadows and darkness create a sense of claustrophobia and unease. The composition of the shots is also a crucial aspect of the film's visual style. Eggers and Blaschken use a narrow aspect ratio of 1.19 by 1, which creates a claustrophobic and oppressive feeling. The narrow frame allows for a limited view of the environment and emphasizes the isolation of the characters. The tight framing also allows for greater emphasis on the characters' faces, making their emotions and reactions more prominent. In addition to the aspect ratio, the film's use of composition emphasizes the power dynamic between the two characters. Throughout the film, Wake is often framed in a position of power, looking down on Winslow and emphasizing the authority. This dynamic is also evident in the use of the camera's movement, often tilting the camera to create a sense of disorientation and instability. The decision to shoot the movie on film is another crucial aspect of the film's visual style. By using film, Eggers and Blaschken are able to create a sense of authenticity and texture that would be difficult to replicate in digital formats. The film's use of grain and imperfection also contribute to the realism of the era, connecting the film to classic cinema and emphasizing the harshness of the environment. One of the most haunting shots in the movie is when Willem Dafoe stands over Robert Pattinson after his character tried to access the light within the lighthouse. This shot creates a sense of surreal horror, making the viewer feel as though they are in a nightmare. This shot is also a direct reference to the painting Hypnosis by Sascha Schneider. The use of this reference adds a layer of depth to the scene, and contributes to the film's overall sense of symbolism and meaning. Hypnosis is a painting from 1904 that depicts a similar image to the shot in the lighthouse. In the painting, a figure stands over another, staring light into their eyes. The painting is notable for its use of symbolism, with the light source representing knowledge and enlightenment, and the figure standing over the other representing dominance and control. The shot in the lighthouse directly references this painting, with Willem Dafoe's character standing over Robert Pattinson and staring light into him. The use of this reference adds a layer of symbolism to the scene, with the light source representing knowledge and enlightenment, and Dafoe's character representing dominance and control. The shot also emphasizes the power dynamic between these two characters, with Dafoe's towering figure and intense stare creating a sense of unease and tension. The use of hypnosis in the lighthouse also adds a layer of art history to the film. Eggers is known for his attention to detail and historical accuracy, and the use of this reference shows his dedication to creating an authentic and meaningful film. The visual imagery of the lighthouse is a masterclass in filmmaking, with Eggers and Blaschken making deliberate choices that contribute to the film's haunting and unforgettable atmosphere. The black and white coloring, composition, aspect ratio work together to create a sense of timelessness and authenticity, often emphasizing the harshness of the environment and the psychological torment of the characters. The use of surreal and grotesque imagery also contributes to the film's sense of horror, creating a sense of uneasiness that lingers long after the film has ended. Overall, The Lighthouse is a stunning example of how visual imagery can be used to create a powerful and unforgettable experience. The Lighthouse is a film that I'll never forget. Robert Eggers is a visionary director. The world and story that he creates that surround this isolation and madness is incredibly mesmeric. The visuals are haunting, and the score only adds to that sense of distance and loneliness. The film throws you on a roller coaster of emotions and flawlessly transitions from comedy to thriller to tragedy. I wish I was able to go back and watch this movie for the first time again, because it is truly a masterpiece. Anyways, thank you for watching. The Lighthouse is right up my alley in terms of the types of films that kind of encapsulate my personal taste. I really tried my hardest in this video to kind of emulate the style of The Lighthouse, especially with the black and white, the aspect ratio, and the lighting style. There's so many more things that I could go into about this film that I could probably make another 40-minute long video just covering all the topics that I didn't go into this time. Like specifically the meaning of the ending. I have so many thoughts about that, but I just didn't feel like I had enough time to cover it all in this video. So if you want to see another video of me diving deeper, let me know. This video took a long time to make, so leave a like if you enjoyed, and let me know down in the comments what your favorite part of the film was. Do you think Willem Dafoe should have won the Oscar? Because I do. I think this movie should have won all the Oscars, okay? But that's just me. Subscribe for more videos coming soon. About 90% of the people that watch my videos are unsubscribed, so if you'd like to see more videos, consider hitting the subscribe button. Also, if you like videos like this, I highly recommend checking out the last video I did on the Outwaters. Thanks again for sticking around. My name is Matt, and this is Understanding Cinema. Peace!